It's time to get your geek on with Dave Vermillion.
Alrighty, so we are down to the Elite Eight, and we are deciding who's moving on to the Final Four. Now, typically, we've done our judging kind of behind the scenes because there's a lot to do, there's a lot to consider for all these characters. We started with 64, and we're down to 8. Starting with the Elite Eight, we are broadcasting our judging onto our exclusive YouTube channel. We will not do it on Facebook like we have in the past. I'll admit we're trying to get you all over to YouTube and check us out over there as well. So you want to mash that subscribe button. You want to make sure the notifications are turned on, and you can watch us do the actual judging, including all the bickering and the arguments about who should win and who shouldn't win, right there live. So in the video game bracket, we have the number 2 seeded Kirby versus number 4 Arthas. This one was an interesting fight. Kirby's been a juggernaut both this year and in last year's tournament. However, he comes up against Arthas, a master of the cold, a master of the ice, which Kirby, if you've ever played any of his games, you know he does not do well on the ice. This one was still very, very close, but the number 2 seeded Kirby goes down 3-2. Arthas pulls off the upset, and he will move on to the Final Four. Then in the Star Wars bracket, we have Yoda versus Obi-Wan Kenobi, another really close fight.
That was interesting considering it, it's Master and, versus Apprentice. And for that one, should we go into start on the results?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay, for that one, well, Yoda's the Master and Obi-Wan did not have the high ground, so Yoda goes on to the next round.
Yoda will move on, and that will bring us up to our Marvel bracket. And this is the only one really that was the number 1 versus the number 2. This is the Marvel and the DC. Number 1 seeded Thor takes on number 2 Jean Grey. The ultimate battle of brains versus brawn. And it wasn't really that close. Thor comes away with this one. Now, true, Jean Grey has some very great telekinetic powers, but she just can't take a punch. And once Thor just starts, just wailing on her, whether with the hammer or without, Jean Grey just can't take the punishment. So Thor will move on to the Final Four. He is your Marvel champion. And that goes to the DC bracket. We had to have a champion come out of this one, and it comes down to an old rivalry, Superman versus Darksied.
This was intense.
A rivalry more than 40 years in the making.
This was so close. We went back and forth on this one for quite a while as far as who would win. And in the end, it really came down to the fact that Darksied has never truly beaten Superman. He did brainwash him once, but that's just not enough really in this one. So
who hasn't brainwashed Superman at some point?
Well, I haven't. I know Minion has, but Minion brainwashes us all, so he's just cool like that. So that means Superman will be moving on. He is your DC bracket champion.
So the winner is
Superman.
And we will be arranging that. You can check out your progress on the leaderboard over at getyourgeekon.org.